Rahim. It is a beautiful month, and we thank Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for blessing us, giving us the opportunity to witness this month. And we ask Allah to give us health, life, well being, so that we benefit the most from this wonderful month and until the day of Eid, and all that every good person wanted and tried and got from Allah, all of that be given to every one of us. Now, we'll talk a little bit about Quran today, this holy book. Now, when you look into all these different religions that are there worldwide, the only book that has remained without any change in it for the past 1500 years, nothing has changed from it. On the surface of this earth, it is only and only Quran. No other book can you find that has not changed over this period of time. Even the books that were revealed to Prophet Isa, books that were revealed to Prophet Musa, and all other prophets, everything has been distorted, everything has been changed. Every book has been changed. So this Quran is the only book that hasn't changed. Now, Quran, it has rights. Like every other person has a right nowadays. You've got human rights, you've got animal rights, you've got plant rights, you've got atmosphere rights and everything. Every other day there is a right that comes up. There are rights that Quran also has. Among the rights of this Quran is that it needs to be respected. It is a book for real living. It is a book which is a guide. It is a book which has everything in it for this world and for the next. Not just that we need to recite Quran in our prayers, it's more than that. Now what we understand and we think is that Quran is only for namaz, for salat, for prayers, for hajj, for the month of Ramadan. No, it is much more than that. Quran has everything in it. We have to make Quran speak to us. All these inventions and discoveries and whatever you see in this world happening, all of that is in Quran. And after a long time, people they come up and say that this was in Quran. Yeah, it was always in Quran, but now we found out that it is in Quran. So Quran has everything in it. We have to get familiar with this beautiful book. Now, what generally people do, we are all from different backgrounds, different countries. So Quran is not observed as it should be observed, the rights of it. Now what we do, we take Quran only for the masjid, only for funerals, in our prayers. In the month of Ramadan, when we go to Hajj, we have to sit by the Kaaba, recite Quran. Or when in a wedding, when the bride is going to her husband's house, we give Quran to the bride as a good luck. Or when someone is traveling, we just bring the Quran and place it over his head so that he goes under the Quran so that he is safe. Sometimes they take the Quran and they recite Ayatul Kursi so that their cow it gives a lot of milk. Sometimes they want to be blessed with Quran, so they write all these beautiful ayat of Quran in beautiful calligraphy. You've seen in the harams, in the mosques, in all these different places, they do that. So, but then no one can read it. Not everyone can read calligraphy. It's good, it's beautiful, it's an art, but no one can read it. Then sometimes you take these ayat of Quran, they call and say that we are being jinxed. Help us do something. An ayah of Quran, a surah from Quran to be given to them. Then they say that so that our children they are not bitten by bugs and insects. Tell me something from the Quran. Or Ayatul Kursi is recited, or Chahar Qul, we say recite it so that you are safe. So we just use the Quran only for these things. I don't say that it doesn't have an effect. It has an effect, no doubt in that. But it's far more than that. The rights of Quran are far more than that. The authority Quran has is far more than that. So every issue that man needs, all of that is present in Quran. Now one must be first able to recite Quran. That is the first step, that every one of us We must be able to recite Quran that is from the Arabic, not that Quran be transliterated into some other language and then we read the transliteration. No, we have to be able to recite Quran and the actual Arabic of Quran. We have hadith says that if we don't learn to recite Quran in this world, and when we will be laid in our graves, we have to participate in those lessons there. We will be taught Quran in our graves because the book is such divine, the book is such holy. Now there are many who cannot even recite Quran, so that's bad. We have to work and be able to recite Quran because it is the word of Allah Ta'ala, and Allah has sent it for the entire humanity, entire mankind, for every one of us. Now, this was a little bit about the importance of Quran. Now, Quran, there are some rights that you have to observe, some etiquette, some adab. More or less every one of us knows them, but now we want to put them all properly, itemize them so that we understand. The first right Quran has, as it mentions in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, says, La yamassuhu illa al-mutahharun, that you must not touch Quran, but that you are in the state of tahara. So when you want to recite Quran, be in wuzu. If you want to touch Quran, you have to be in wuzu. You cannot touch Quran without wuzu. That is that first requirement or the first adab you should be observing to recite the Holy Quran. Whenever you participate in a session that is to do with Quran, be in wuzu. When you want to recite Quran, be in wuzu. When you want to touch Quran, you must be in wuzu. You cannot touch without being in the state of tahara. Now the second right that Quran has, or the second adab you need to observe, and the etiquette you have to have, is that Quran says يَتْلُونَهُ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ. That is, you have to recite Quran. You have to recite it beautifully. You have to recite it correctly. And then the right of that tilawat and recitation has to be observed. Now there is another ayah in Quran. Now this little, it may be a little bit what do you call, intense for some of you, but doesn't matter. Just listen to it. Out of all what I will be saying, there will be so much of stuff that will remain in your minds, and you will remember that. And when you look into Quran, when you recite the Holy Quran, that will pop up into your mind. Yeah, this is something that we have heard. So Quran is that beautiful. One of the ayat of Quran that says that ما تكون في شأن وما تتلو منه من قرآن ولا تعملون من عمل إلا كنا عليكم شهودا. Now this is being addressed to the Prophet. Says, you do not engage in any work, neither do you recite any part of Quran, nor do you perform any deed without us being a witness over you. Allah the Almighty is saying to the Prophet that whatever you do, I am a witness. Says to the Prophet that when you recite Quran, I am watching you, I am a witness there. Whatever you do, I am a witness there, I am by you. Now that is something that we learn from Quran, that when you're reciting Quran, Allah is a witness. Allah is watching you, Allah is seeing you, and He is rewarding you at all times. So that what we learn from this ayah is that Quran has to be recited, properly. Now the other thing that we learn from this beautiful Quran is that we have to give importance in learning Quran. Parents, there are many parents who look into the education, well-being of their children. They work a lot for that. They pay also a lot for that. The Prophet, he says, the first priority that every parent has to give is in learning Quran, and is in learning Deen, in learning what the Prophet has said. So that is that first priority. Now when a child learns to say Bismillah, how many benefit from that Bismillah? First the child himself, then the parents also benefit from his recitation of Bismillah. His grandparents, whoever has passed away from his lineage, from his ancestors, all of them, they benefit. Once the Prophet, he was passing from a graveyard, And then he said to his companions, "Rush, don't stop here, be quick, don't stay here for long." And a year passed, and after a year, the Prophet, he with his companions, they were passing by the same graveyard, same companions, and by the same grave. Now, this time the Prophet said, "Stop, wait." The companions, they said, "Ya Rasulullah, last time we were with you by the same grave, and you said, 'Rush, don't stop here.'" And then the Prophet said, "Yes, last year this person was being punished by Allah wa ta'ala in his grave. But this year he has been forgiven. He is blessed. And because his son, he said Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim for the first time. Because he learned to say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Allah has eased and put away the punishment from the father. See, that much of a benefit is there in this Bismillah, just from Bismillah. Now, whatever other ayat you learn and you recite, what benefits are hidden there, we don't know. So, all that is this beautiful book of Allah wa ta'ala that has that beautiful reward. Now, when we look into people, they see that their child is doing well in school, the other one is doing well, he's got a nice house, he's got a nice car. Then these are the things we look into. We never look into how much is being invested in the religion, in deen of a child. So the first priority should be, we have to see how much religious that person is, how much of a Quran that child can recite. The measure, the criteria that the Prophet has mentioned is religion, is deen. See how much Quran he knows, so that much of a good person he is. How much of a good akhlaq he has, that much of a good person he is. Now all other things, your schools, your colleges, that is very good. It's a bonus. But the priority that the Prophet has said is Quran, is deen, is religion. Now, when you recite Quran, all of you, alhamdulillah, are reciters of Quran. So when you recite Quran, there are some adab, some etiquettes. When I say adab, it means some rules to follow to be the best of reciters. That is, when you go to school, there are some etiquettes that you have to observe. When you go to someone's house, there are some etiquettes to observe. When you go to library, they say you have to be quiet, you can't talk, you can't walk loud, etc. So there are etiquettes to be observed everywhere. You go to the hospital, you can't have fun there. You can't have party in the hospital. You have to be very quiet and observe the rules there. Just like that, we have rules when we come to the Holy Quran. The first rule was mentioned as you have to be in wuzu. Only then you come to Quran. And then there's another rule that you have to observe in Quran is that when you recite Quran, Imam al-Sadiq, our sixth Imam, alayhi salam, he says that brush your teeth before you recite Quran. In another hadith we have, hadith means it's a saying of the Imam, of the Ma'sum. When I say hadith, when I say riwayah, when I say tradition, when I say report, all of that means it's a saying of the Prophet, of the Imam who is a Ma'sum. Imam says that is clear or clean the pathways of Quran. Now the person who was present in the meeting, he says, Yabna Rasulullah, what is the pathway of the Quran? Imam says, your mouth. Your mouth, it's the medium. It's the path from where Quran will be recited. So you brush your teeth. Imam says miswak. So doing miswak means brushing your teeth, rinsing your mouth before you recite Quran. Because Quran, it is holy. Quran doesn't mean only the book, it's the ayat that you know and you will be reciting. So those ayat that will be coming out from my mouth, that mouth has to be clean. Because these ayat were said by Allah, it is the message of Allah that was delivered to the Prophet. Now, who was the medium who brings this message? It is Jibreel. Jibreel is also all pure. So he's bringing the message to Rasulullah. Rasulullah, who is receiving this message and Quran, he is also all pure. And it's the pure heart of Rasulullah. Now, Rasulullah, when he is delivering the message himself to you and me, he is pure. His mouth is pure. Now, when I have received the message and I want to recite this Quran, I also have to be pure. I have to also observe taharat. I also have to be nice and clean, and my mouth also has to be rinsed and washed, because I am also reciting the same verses that were recited by Allah to Jibreel, to Rasulullah, by Rasulullah to me, and from me to you. So that is how this adab has to be observed, the etiquettes in reciting the Holy Quran. One of the other etiquettes that we have for the Holy Quran is that when you looking at the Holy Quran is also worship. Looking at the Quran. On 3 occasions, the Prophet has mentioned that looking is worship. One, looking at Amirul Mu'mineen, Imam Ali alayhi salam, is worship. Two, looking at your father with a merciful look is worship. Looking at the Holy Quran is also worship. So if you feel bored and you find nothing to do, look at your father. That will be written as a worship, as an ibadah. So looking at the Quran is also worship. So when you now what do we understand from here? That if someone wants to recite Quran from his hifz, from his memory, that's good. But if you want a lot of sawab, a lot of reward, look from a printed version of Quran and there you recite. So you've got all these devices, digital versions of Quran, all that is good. If you want lots of sawab, you have to recite Quran from a mushaf. Now the other term we have for Quran is mushaf. You've got these ayat in Quran, many of you know that, fi suhufim mutahhara. Suhuf means scriptures. So Quran, the other name we have is mushaf. If you see some place it's written Mushaf Sharif, it means the holy book. So when you want to recite Quran, recite it from a mushaf, that is a printed version, to get the maximum sawab. Now if you have a printed version, then you definitely have to be in wuzu. You cannot touch that without wuzu. But if you have a digital version, a device that you can touch without wuzu, because it's a screen, it's glass. But here when you have a printed version of Quran, then you are bound to being in wuzu, because if you touch it without wuzu, it's going to be haram. So that is another adab that you observe when you are reciting the Holy Quran. One of the other adab and etiquettes that you have when you have to observe when you recite Quran is that when Quran is being recited, you have to be quiet and listen to that. It says, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنِ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. You listen to Quran, وَأَنصِتُوا. وَأَنصِتُوا means, that is, you listen with tawajjuh, that is, with concentration. You sit and listen, because Quran, when you listen to it, that also has an effect. Sometimes you recite Quran by someone who is ill, he gets well, because that has the effect. That is the beauty of Quran. So when Quran is being recited, listen to it, be attentive and listen carefully. Don't talk when Quran is being recited. Now, one of the other adab that we have, the etiquettes that we have for Quran, is that Quran should be recited in a beautiful voice. Everything has a beauty. So when you want to recite Quran, use the best of your voices. Recite it in a beautiful voice. Says لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ حِلْيَةٌ وَحِلْيَةُ الْقُرْآنِ الصَّوْتُ الْحَسَنِ. Everything has a beauty. So the beauty of Quran is that you recite Quran in a beautiful voice. That is regarding the adab when you recite Quran. One of the other adab that you have, etiquettes that you have to observe when you recite Quran, is that say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim before you start recitation, which means I seek refuge in Allah from the ousted shaitan, from the ousted iblis, that I want to get help from Allah from the ousted shaitan. So these are some of the adab that you observe when you recite Quran. Now there is one more thing, that sometimes you feel that when Quran is being recited, you feel happy. That is, you feel light. That is the barakah of Quran. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زادتهم إيمانا. When Quran is being recited, you feel that your iman, it is elevating. You feel high, you feel happy. That is a result of the Holy Quran. One of the other etiquettes and adab that you should be observing in Quran is that you try to understand the ayat. So when you are learning ayat, when you are reciting ayat, when something has stayed in your mind from the ayat of Quran, go and ask someone who can help you that what does this ayah mean? What does this mean? So that is, try to understand the ayat of Quran, because these verses of Quran, they are like a treasure. So when someone opens a treasure, a trunk in front of you, what do? You just stand there, or you want to look into it, see what is in the treasure. So you want to see what is in the treasure. So Quran is a treasure. When it is being recited, look into it, so that maybe something you like from it, and you will get a lot of benefit from it. So Quran also, it's got all those effects and all those beauties and all those etiquettes and adab that you have to observe when you are reciting the Holy Quran. May Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala help us all understand this beautiful book, this glorious book, and be friends with the book. And Allah keep us with this Holy Quran, raise us with the Holy Quran, and resurrect us with the Holy Quran. Now, when I end the reciting Quran, we say Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim, that Allah indeed has spoken the truth. When I say Sadaqallah, Allah has spoken the truth. Al-Ali al-Azim means the high, the lofty, the Almighty, who is Allah, the high, the lofty, has spoken the truth. So whenever I complete recitation of Quran, I have to say that, so that I admit and I confess and I testify it myself, and I remind to myself that it is the word of God, and whatever He has said is the truth. وسبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد